Many people believe that I was born into a believing household, but that actually isn't true for me. This is part one of my testimony, and if you would like to know more, please let me know. So, my parents actually weren't practicing believers at the time, although my father was a believer and my mom was not. She was Hindu, and they had decided not to practice any religion when they got married. And so I didn't grow up with any sort of religion. I had my own encounter with God when I was still very young. And from the ages of 4 or 5, somewhere around there, I just knew that Jesus was King. And I loved him so much. And that's how it started. I had my own relationship with God. As a little girl, I would go to church with my grandparents, and that's how I began to learn about God. And many years later, my mom had her own encounters with God, and we moved back to Durban, and she even joined a church, and we began to serve and learn about God some more. But I still, as a young girl, I still wasn't rooted in God. I knew the Bible stories, I knew the theory, but I didn't know him personally enough yet. And I was easily misled to believe that God was this harsh, rule-making, rule-enforcing judge in heaven waiting to catch me out, wanting to keep me confined in a little box. And I was terrified, and I said to him as a young teen, when I was about 16 or so, I said to him, Lord, I don't think you know what I need as a young woman. And that was on the cusp of my rebellion. Over several years, I gradually began to move further and further away from God, thinking that I was okay, thinking that I was a believer, still acting as if I was a believer, still doing things in the church, but behind the scenes, I wasn't really reading my Bible every day. I would run away from God whenever I did something wrong because I thought, oh my gosh, God is so upset with me. What am I going to do? I couldn't handle the thought of him being angry with me, and I would hide from him for months. All that time that I kept inching away and coming back, or, this back and forth of this fight for my life, I didn't realize it so much then, but now I can see it clearly that God was so patient, and he just kept gently, patiently trying to draw me in, trying to draw me back. And I would welcome that because I loved being in his presence. I loved him, and I would run back to him and then be drawn away again. But he was so kind, and he was so patient. And he always affirmed who I was. He never judged me harshly. He was so kind. He was so gentle. Believing the lie that I had to run away from God, that I had to hide from him whenever I had done something wrong, was one of the worst things that I could have believed. And it's completely opposite to the truth of who he is and how he operates with us. But I began to make very bad decisions, and I self-sabotaged my career, my life. About 12 years ago, I rededicated my life to God, and I've been on this amazing journey finding out who God really is, finding out who I am in him, and finding out what his word really says. And my mission now is to speak identity, encouragement, and truth into anyone who needs it. Hi, my name is Jerusha. If you found this helpful or you liked it, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Bye-bye.